You don't wake up one day and just decide to start over. It's so much quieter and more subtle than that. It's a Tuesday night. Nothing dramatic even happened. You didn't lose your job. Nothing dramatic happened. You didn't get dumped by your missus, I hope. You didn't hit rock bottom like I had to a few times. You just looked in the mirror after a shower and felt that a familiar sentence slide into your head subtly. This can't be it, surely. No rock bottom, just not really it. You said you were going to train consistently. You said that this was the year that your income was going to 10x, it was going to double, it was going to triple. You said you were done drifting mentally. But here you are, again, planning another reset, just another magical reset where everything's going to lock in this time. Because I used to do the exact same thing. I used to think I had a discipline problem. I'd go really hard in the gym, and I'm talking really hard. 2 weeks of savage sessions, thinking I'm locked in, dialed in on my food, aggressive intent towards my goal. Then my business would slip. I'd avoid all the hard calls, avoid the conversations that made me feel uncomfortable, and I'd tell myself that I'd circle back to it next week. And then all of a sudden I'd panic, switch gears, business reset. I need to get some new systems in place, early mornings, late nights, outreach, strategy, execution. And then my body would deteriorate, sleep would suffer, diet would go sloppy, and my energy would drop. Then my head would start to wobble. Mindset resets, time for journaling, meditation, podcast, reflection, deep thinking. And while I was thinking, I wasn't building. And that cycle went on for years and years and years. Gym reset, business reset, mindset reset. Nothing stuck because nothing was integrated. That's the strangest part of how productivity feels. Starting over, new plan, new notebook, new calendar, new rules. It feels so powerful, but it's all a lie. Starting over feels exciting because it requires no proof. You get to feel serious without having to actually sustain anything. You get to be that new version of yourself without having to actually be consistent long enough to actually become that person, build the identity. And that's exactly where you're stuck. You're addicted to intensity, but allergic to the integration that makes it all stick and work together. Because there was a period in my life where this fragmentation wasn't just about productivity. It was much darker. I fell into the trap juggling crime, addiction, debt, all while still trying to convince myself that I was ambitious. One version of me trained hard and talked about discipline. The other version of me chased chaos, quick wins, fast money, all that numbing escapism type behavior. And on the outside, I looked like I was composed, but inside I was split. And that split is absolutely exhausting, not physically, but existentially. Because when your actions contradict your potential, you feel it in every area of your life, every morning, every quiet drive on your own, every Tuesday night when nothing's quite wrong, but nothing's quite right either. So you keep starting over because you're living life as three different men. The body version of yourself, the business version of yourself, and that introspective version of yourself that cares about being. But they don't communicate. Because when you tighten up physically, your business slips. When you grind in business, your body suffers. When you work on your mind, all that execution starts to slow down and you think you're just balancing. But you're actually compartmentalizing it all. And nothing can compound if they're all in separate compartments. Because I remember that one specific moment. I just finished a brutal leg session, sweat everywhere, dripping on the floor, heart pounding out my chest, and I felt powerful. I sat in the car afterwards and I checked my phone. Unread messages, avoided tasks, opportunities that I hadn't followed up on, therefore I'd lost. And that power that I'd felt in the gym, it evaporated instantly because it wasn't integrated into the rest of my life. The problem was that I was strong in one pillar, but leaking in the other two. And when you're leaking in two pillars, you can't feel solid. You always feel slightly behind, slightly diluted, and most importantly, slightly disappointed in yourself. You don't hate yourself, you just hate the inconsistency. You hate knowing what to do and not doing it consistently. You hate starting strong and then drifting quietly, slowly but surely. You hate the silent negotiations. I'll start properly on Monday. This week's just weird. Once I'm in a better headspace and everything calms down. But let me promise you now, you don't need another fresh start. You need integration across the 3 B's. So here's the shift. Your body is not separate from your business. When your body is soft, your standards are automatically soft. You tolerate more, you push less, you recover slower, and you think foggier. And your being, your internal state, is definitely not separate from your output. Because when your mind's reactive, distracted, scattered, then your execution fluctuates with your mood as well. And business is not separate from your identity. When your output's inconsistent, your self-trust starts to drop. And when your self-trust drops, everything drops. Body, being, business. They are not three hobbies. They are one single operating system. And once I stopped treating them as separate projects, everything started to change. Not overnight, not dramatically, quietly, slowly, surely. I installed structure instead of intensity. Morning, win the body, win the mind before the world even gets a fucking chance. Midday, during the day, I'm executing income generating activities, not busy work, output. And in the evening, I'm doing an audit. Did I execute or did I avoid those actions that I know move my life forward? No emotions, no stories, just data. And that structure rebuilds self-trust. And self-trust is momentum. Not hype, not motivation, but momentum. Because the reason you keep starting over is because you're chasing those spikes of feel-good endorphins instead of systems. So if you want to feel powerful, that power doesn't come from bursts. It comes from alignment. And alignment feels different. It feels calm, stable, deliberate. You don't wake up wondering which version of you is in control. You don't oscillate between savage and scattered. You don't need dramatic resets because nothing is even falling apart. It's all connected. Trust me, it's all connected. And right now, you're strong in one area, half decent in another, and then completely leaking in the third. You know which one this is. And that leak is infecting the other two. Because you can't be elite in business and average in body without it showing. You can't be disciplined physically and chaotic mentally without it bleeding into your output with your income generation. You can't meditate your way out of misalignment if your actions constantly contradict your standards, because integration is brutal in its simplicity. 3 daily non-negotiables per pillar every day. Not reinvention, not rebranding. No, this time it's different. Just repetition. For long enough that your identity has chance to catch up and you realise that, yo, I'm that guy. I'm moving in alignment. There's a moment when that happens, when alignment locks in. It's subtle. You might not even notice it. You just wake up one day and there's no negotiation within yourself. You don't argue with yourself anymore. You don't need to psych yourself up. You just execute because your body supports your energy. Your mind supports your focus and your business supports your identity, and everything is pointing in the same direction. That's power. It's not loud, it's not theatrical, it's just integrated and it just works. It's simple. So let me say it again, you don't need another reset. You need to stop being 3 different men living one life. You need to unify the 3 pillars, body, being and business. Because every time you start over, you weaken your self-trust. And every time you integrate, you build it. And the gap between who you are and who you know you could and should be is not a talent gap. It's a gap in alignment. Gym reset, business reset, mindset reset constantly, or one system, one standard, or one integrated life. You already know which one actually works. The question is whether you're ready to stop starting over and start getting aligned. So if that's you, which you know it is because you've clicked on this video and got this far in, click the link in the description and get your free copy of the Alignment Blueprint. It's a system to help you realign across body, being and business. It's worked for all my private clients and it's a system I use in my own life. So I'll see you in the next video, but don't bother clicking on it if you're not going to download the Alignment Blueprint. Let's fucking have it.